Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Thanks very much for joining. Yeah, it's been a super crazy week on Football Index. We had the big announcement on Thursday night that we're all waiting for, really. Seems to be met fairly positively by the community. We saw a bit of a rise on Thursday night that's been fairly sustained going into the weekend. And generally things just feel a lot better than they did a couple of weeks ago. I'm really confident about 2021. I think we're going to have a great year on Football Index. And on that note, here are my top 10 holds for the year ahead. So straight in at number 10, I've gone with Carlos Soler of Valencia. He's turned into a bit of a talisman for them this season, scoring 6 and assisting 4 times. Pretty poor Valencia side, it has to be said. They're going to be probably in the bottom 6 of La Liga, maybe even struggling to stay up. And he's been one of the few bright sparks, really. FI terms, he's already won 8p in dividends. Unlucky not to have won more. He's had 200 plus scores, one of which coming in a hat-trick against Real Madrid, a hat-trick of penalties. So he's on pens. He's going to continue to compete on bronze days. He's got possibly the potential to compete on gold days as well, and just looks really good value of 50p. The only thing that puts me off slightly is, to be honest, Arsenal potentially signing Odegaard over the next few days. Soler had been fairly strongly linked and potentially made sense in the summer for a move like that. With Valencia typically a selling club at the moment, I do think he probably leaves in the summer, and I have no idea where. So that's probably the biggest scare for me at the moment. But I think for the rest of the season, he looks a good price at 50p, and you can't really go wrong there. So at number 9, I'm going with Trent AlexanderArnold. Probably the first premium player to really start crashing early on in the season. I think it became pretty clear early on that Robertson had just taken a bit more precedence in terms of Liverpool going forward, and just taken a few set pieces from him as well. And Trent's found it really difficult to beat him this season. But that said, I think there's still a huge amount of upside with Trent AlexanderArnold, particularly at the price that he is now. You pick him up at around 250 to around 270, which, coming off a peak in above £10 is pretty crazy. He's still 22 years of age, and really it doesn't feel like there's much more that could have gone wrong for him this season. He's had a few injury issues. He's lost some of those set plays to Robertson, and it's just fallen out of form a little bit. Liverpool haven't been what they were this time last season. But even in that situation, Trent's got a PB average of 134. He's won 12p in dividends, which isn't bad. He can build upon that in the second half of the season. Liverpool probably going to go pretty deep in the Champions League. He's got the Euros coming up. I don't see Reece James or anything like that coming into the conversation. So I think he's got a good opportunity to win some dividends in maybe a short space of time. And again, it's such a long time that you're playing with here. I think the index has gone pretty short-termist this season, but Trent is still one that you can pick up at this price, and it's very difficult to see where you're going to go wrong there. So Trent AlexanderArnold in at number 9. So number 8, I've gone with Federico Chiesa of Juventus. He joined from Fiorentina in the summer. Price crashed a little bit off the back of that. Juve is typically not a Football Index friendly transfer, I guess. You've got very little media profile, pretty much non-existent. Not hugely PB friendly at the moment under Pirlo. You've got huge competition for places, and obviously Ronaldo there as well, who continues to be the main man. He's the main PB threat. And really, until he moves on, it's pretty difficult for anybody to really challenge there. That said, Ronaldo's 35 now. He can't go on forever. He is going to step aside sooner rather than later. And Chiesa started to gain a bit of prominence in that side over the last month or so, and he looks really the man that's going to take it forward in PB terms. He won 2 positional wins in a pretty terrible Fiorentina side last season, including a star man. He's challenged on a couple of occasions for PB. He was really unlucky a few weeks ago. I think it was against AC Milan. He scored twice. Looked nailed on for a gold day PB win. and got pulled off on the 60th minute. So he's shown that he's got it in there, and I think he's just going to get better and better in the second half of the season. He's going to go to the Euros with Italy, and I think about £1.10 you can pick him up at the moment, which for me just looks a really, really good long-term bet, and there's a lot of upside there, not much downside. So if you're looking at, low risk, high reward, I think Chiesa, is a pretty good bet. So number 7, I've gone with Serge Gnabry of Bayern Munich. Honestly speaking, he's not somebody I've been buying for a while. I haven't topped up for quite a long time. Bayern have had a pretty average, rocky start to the season by their standards. Gnabry's not someone that's really competed for PB in a while. But I think he's starting to look pretty good value again comparatively. He's down at around £1.30 you can pick him up for at the moment. Which, considering the upside, considering the PB potential that he does have, again, is starting to look really good value. He's got a peak of around 322. I think he scored last season, might have been the Spurs game, where he did take down a Gold Day star man. He's shown on quite a few occasions that he does have that explosive potential that works well on the index, that he might go missing for a month, 6 weeks, but he does have that potential to explode and put a really big score together and take down a Gold Day star man. So he hasn't done that for a while, but second half of the season coming up, Champions League coming up, he's another one that's going to go to the Euros. Pretty out of sentiment at the moment, so that's why I think you can get in now and get him a pretty good price. So Serge Gnabry at number 7 looks a really good price to me at the moment. So number 7, I've actually gone for Lionel Messi. Probably the riskiest hold on this list, obviously with the age profile being 35, typically close to retirement age by immortal standards. So yeah, not necessarily someone I'm going to be holding at the end of the year. We'll see how things conspire, but I do think the upside on Messi is pretty huge. Obviously, there was strong links to a Premier League move towards the end of last season, or in the autumn, I should say. And it's generally been downplayed, the chance of that happening. But for me, it feels a lot more plausible than people are making out. I think just the concept of Messi playing anywhere elsewhere from Barcelona does seem pretty alien. And I think that's probably playing in people's minds when they're looking at this. Barcelona, I really don't see how they afford him beyond this season. His wages are huge. Barcelona are fucked, to be honest, in terms of their finances. So I just don't see how they keep him. Who's got the clout to keep Messi happy, to keep him financially happy? I can only see it being the Premier League at the moment. Potentially PSG, which still I don't think would be a bad move for him. I think he'd dominate even more so in terms of PB. I think he'd have a pretty big media presence just from the novelty of somebody playing, or Messi playing away from Barcelona, albeit at PSG. But I do think that Man City connection could be a goer. Probably put it around 30-40%, but I think if it was to happen, he would absolutely explode. He would dominate media for a long, long time. And I just think it's almost a bit of a hedge that if that was to happen, a lot of money is going to be sucked into Messi, and I want to be holding a bit of a piece of him if that does happen. I think worst case scenario, he probably stays at Barcelona. He continues to rack up PB. He's had a pretty bad season by all accounts, and he's still won quite a bit of PB. I feel like every time he plays, he's got a really, really good chance. So Messi, for me, he's one I'm going to keep hold of. So number 5, I'm going with Theo Hernandez. Looks to be the safest hold in terms of defenders at the moment, probably on the index with the risks around Trent. Potentially, you could argue Robertson. He's already won 28p in PB this season. His price has just crept up a little bit over the last few days, making him slightly less attractive, but the entire market's so low at the moment that on these big PB competitors, it's really tough to see too much downside. So you can pick him up with a bid price around £1.60. I guess the only downsides of Hernandez is probably internationally. He's a little bit down the pecking order with France. I think that those fullback spots are really, really competitive for them. So he's unlikely to feature too much in the Euros, but Milan, top of the league at the moment, absolutely flying. They're probably going to go deep in the Europa League as well. So he just looks to be a consistent threat week in, week out. And I do think he's going to pick up more dividends towards the end of the season. Even with just the 28p that he's won already this season, it's a 15% yield. I think he increases on that for the rest of the season and beyond. So Theo Hernandez, pretty safe bet in at number 5. So in at number 4, I've gone with Kylian Mbappe. Just a bit of a feeling that his career might have stalled a little bit at PSG over the last season or two. He's kind of a little bit out of sentiment in terms of the premium assets. I guess you could put him in that maybe elite youth category that's been battered over the last few months. And generally, he's just struggled to compete for PB, which has really hurt him. I think with the price point he's been at, if you think going back pre-order books to to £10-11, at some point you've got to start competing for PB, and he hasn't quite done it. That said, you forget he's still only 21 years of age, Mbappe. He is going to be parted with Neymar at some point, hopefully in the summer. And there has been some talk of a Premier League move. Seems unlikely to me. I think he probably stays at PSG. But I do think he starts to compete for PB as we move forward. I think matrix change, which I think will happen potentially before next season, I think is going to benefit the likes of Mbappe in terms of maybe multiple goals, braces, hat-tricks, that kind of thing, that I think is going to benefit maybe those that lost out from IPDs. With the match day extra as well, Mbappe looks to be someone that's going to benefit a lot from that. Did just pick up a PB win on Friday night, which obviously shows his potentially the second half of the season, but you might want to wait a couple of days for the dust to settle on that one. Generally can pick him up for around £3.50 to £4, which again feels incredibly good value for somebody that I think has a transfer market value of about £180 million. So you think eventually that is going to tie in with the FI value, and he's going to be back towards the ceiling there. So Kylian Mbappe at number 4, back end of the season, going into the Euros, looks a no-brainer. So moving into the top 3, and I've gone with Jack Grealish. Grealish has had an amazing season. He got sold off in droves really towards the end of last season when obviously Villa stayed up by the skin of their teeth. And I think that he would have been guaranteed to move surely had they gone down the way he played last season. Obviously the United rumours were there. But since then he's really kicked on again. Villa look an absolutely different outfit. The issues obviously with him, Southgate doesn't seem to fancy him. I don't know what's going on there. But that has been a bit of a risk for him. I do think I can see that helping him actually in the short term though. I think the fans, the media are really kind of coalescing around this idea of Jack Grealish and getting him in the squad. I think that follows him into the squad announcements for the Euros. I think probably into the first game and the starting lineup as well. He's probably going to be benefiting from that media. So he looks to be have some nailed on media going into the Euros essentially. And on that, I think he could be the main man for us in that tournament as well. That's going to resurface those United rumours. He's 25 years of age. He's still playing at Aston Villa. He's about to enter his prime years, and I think he might start pushing for that move unless Villa miraculously creep into the Champions League or something like that, which isn't going to happen. He needs to be playing at the top level. I think he's going to start pushing for that now. He's taken Villa into the Premier League. He's kept them up. He's kicked them on. I think he'd probably be leaving with their blessing now, and I do think a move is going to happen at some point within England, possibly at Man United. He does seem to, personality-wise, fit that Man United kind of archetype. So I could see that happening potentially this summer. Regardless of that, the Euros is going to be big for Jack Grealish, and he goes in at number 3. So number 2, pretty boring pick, but I'm going with none other than Jadon Sancho. Obviously, infamously coming from a peak of £14-15 over the late autumn with those United rumours, pre-sell orders, which have decimated the top end. He's kind of become the poster boy, I guess, for the market collapse. Whenever there's a bit of resurgence, everybody's looking at Sancho and what's his price doing as that kind of bellwether. But I think taking it, from a clear perspective, clear head, and just looking at Jadon Sancho, there's still a huge amount there to like. He's got a PB-friendly game. He's not been playing well at all this season, but he's still started to pick up dividends with Dortmund. It looks like he's turned a bit of a corner from where he was maybe a month or so ago. Dortmund, has to be said, looking pretty shaky at the moment, which probably, again, helps the chances of that move coming through. I do think United probably do come back in. It does seem to be likely that happens sooner rather than later. You get the feeling he wants to be back in England, and there is going to be a lot of media that comes back on that. Risk factors would be, how certain is he to start for England? Probably not that certain at all with the competition that's there. I think Southgate seems to like Rashford, seems to like Sterling and Kane in those thrown free positions. So Sancho, he's gonna have a job in his hands in the Euros to get into those starting positions. But that said, he's not really had a real breakout performance for England yet, which I think could come in the Euros. And again, that's only going to boost his profile even more. And again, strengthen those rumours going into the summer transfer window. So I think long term, Sancho, I've got positions in him at £13-14. Certainly prefer to buy him at £5. So again, he's someone that I just think is going to continue to dominate the conversation really over 2021. And Jadon Sancho, pick him up at £5. And finally then, at number 1, I'm going with Erling Harling, Jadon Sancho's Dortmund teammate. Probably the most illogical pick on the list, to be honest. He doesn't have a PB-friendly game, and I'm not sure what the chances of a summer move are. Obviously, his release clause doesn't kick in until the following season. Obviously, I'm pretty confident Sancho is going to move in the summer. How happy are Dortmund going to be about 2 of their stars leaving going into next season? Probably not so much. But on the flip side, he's just an absolute freak. I've not really seen anything like him in terms of his build, the way he plays. His finishing is just phenomenal. And I do think the media are just going to glue to this guy. Most importantly with Haaland as well, as I do think he ends up in the Premier League. And as we saw with Messi over the late summer, sometimes these transfer stories can just balloon from nowhere, and I think Haaland could be in that situation. Dortmund, they look pretty shaky at the moment. If they don't get in the Champions League, this is someone that might start kicking up a fuss. He might want to play Champions League football next season. He's a global superstar. How happy is he going to be coming 5th in the Bundesliga and playing in the Europa League? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Dortmund will probably have a pretty solid second half of the season. But even so, I think from pure goals alone, Haaland does have the potential to take down some PB at some point. Haven't quite seen it yet, but he's still super, super young. And when those transfer rumours come, and they will come, Erling Haaland is going to explode. I want to be there when that happens. I think with matrix change, with a transfer for Haaland, probably the future king of the index, and someone that could dominate for years to come. Could win Ballon d'Ors. He's going to win. He's going to score a lot of goals in terms of volume, in terms of importance. I think he's going to score some big goals over the next few years. And for me, Erling Haaland, future king of the index. He's who I'm putting at number 1. So there you have it, guys. Those are my top 10 holds for 2021. Let me know what you think in the comments. Agree, disagree. Feel free to roast me. Obviously, you always remember to do your own research and only bet what you can afford to lose. But thanks very much for watching, and let's have a fantastic 2021 on Football Index.